So today we have gathered here on this platform to talk about cognitive sciences in interdisciplinary studies. So can we go on to the next slide, please? So our key takeaways, if you see the end of the session, what is that? Is I think, therefore I am. That is, which emphasis that thinking is the main process, and the way we think, that really helps us in a great deal. That's what is going to be the takeaway, key takeaway for us to take home from this session. So in that note, I would request you to just have all your questions very clearly mentioned in the chat box, so that we would like to really come back to you. This cogito ergo sum, that's the meaning I mentioned, that I think, therefore I am. That shows that mind is not just a vessel to be filled with knowledge, but to be kindled as a fire. That's what is the key takeaway, that we have to think as educators, how we are going to really kindle up this fire for each and every child. So thank you so much. On that note, we take the help of cognitive sciences. So when we talk about cognitive science, let's go on to the before one only, please. The cognitive science. I've got to explain few things there. Yes, on this, talking about cognitive science, I have taken help from certain few quotes from eminent personalities. As Albert Einstein has mentioned, that the world we have created is a process of our thinking, and it cannot be changed without changing our thinking. So this emphasis that the thought process is quite very, very important, and it is quite inevitable in our success. Secondly, as mentioned by Christopher Hitchens, the essence of the independent mind. It could be learner, it could be a teacher, it could be educator, it could be a parent, or it could be any stakeholder who is involved in this process. The essence of the independent mind lies in what it thinks and how it thinks. Is exactly what is mentioned is, it doesn't lie only in what it thinks, it contributes more, or it factors more, or it influences more how it thinks. That's what the cognitive science is all about. And all these related to our thought process, which is just a trigger. And what is the trigger? And the trigger is otherwise called as the stimuli, and the action is the response. So for every action, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. So this is what we are going to talk more about. That is, for every action, whether it is in the classroom situation, or it is an assessment, or it is a life situation, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is what whole framework of cognitive sciences explains to us. So when we talk about cognitive science, one more time, it is like, can we move on to the next slide? Main thing what we need to understand is our parts of the brain. So when we talk about the parts of the brain, that is, it comes in the three different parts, that is cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain, as you can see in the slide. So when we talk about cognitive domain, it focuses on all the intellectual skills and knowledge. When it is affective domain, it relates to the emotional quotient, that is emotion, values, and attitudes. And when it comes to the psychomotor domain, concerns the physical movement, coordination, and motors and the skills which is being involved. So this is what is it? That is, cognitive is the thought, and psychomotor is the action. But in between this, from the thought to the action, there is a pros, there's a thin wire which affects this. That is the emotional quotient. That is intelligent quotient being connected with the emotional quotient and moving on to the execution factor of it. So these are the three, often referred to as Bloom's taxonomy to learning, components to the major part of the brain, such that all the three work together and it takes it forward. So when we talk about brain and its domains, can we go on to the next one, please? As we know that Professor Benjamin Bloom proposed this taxonomy learning in 1956, and it is divided into education objectives into three domains that we have seen: cognitive, that that swirls around, or it involves, or it influences the creativity, thought process, response, expressions, and calculations, etc. Where the affective domain is more related to the emotion, feelings, and attitudes, and it involves our feelings and how we deal with emotionally to the present situation. Whether it is a success or a failure, it doesn't matter, but how we deal with that, with the psychomotor physical ability to deliver the goods such that we, in case of coordination and physical movement. So when we talk about cognitive domains, what is it called as? It is cognitive science is an interdisciplinary field in those researchers from psychology, neuroscience, linguistics, philosophy, computer science, and anthropology. All these are involved in it, and it together forms the framework of this cognitive science. I think we should move on to the next slide. But if we do this in this way, it helps us seek to understand the mind of the learner or the person whom we are dealing with, considering the findings that are so strong and clear enough to merit to the classroom application, with the emotional factor being involved in it, thereby creating an advantage for the learner's benefit, such that they are more inclined towards learning. That's what is the thing. That's how the cognitive domain really helps the learning process. So when it is so, that is basically this cognitive science is a study of human mind and the brain, focusing on how the mind represents and manipulates the knowledge that is being acquired, and how the mental representation and the process that are involved, that are realized in the brain. So the whole process forms the whole framework or the skeleton of this cognitive domain. When we prepare a holistic lesson developed by a teacher, basically, it requires the inclusion of all the three domains, that is cognitive, all the three domains which are involved in it, constructing the learning task for the student, that is whether it is cognitive domain or the affective domain or the psychomotor domain. So then only the lesson delivery will be successful. So when we do that, what we need to do, what we will adopt the diversity of the methods which are being involved in it, as we have seen in the last week, maybe with the application of multiple intelligences, everything. With the diversity of the learning task, the learner will be able to creates a curiosity in the minds of the learner, such that making them more inquisitive with the learning process, that helps a comparatively well-rounded, comprehensive, and inclusive learning experience with the emotional quotient that will meet to the several learning styles and the learning modalities that are being involved in the process. So that's what is the whole cognitive domain which is being there, and which helps in the learning process. And today's session, we will see how it is helped in the interdisciplinary learning methodologies. So moving ahead from here, so we are going to have a brief history of exactly what is this cognitive science, from where did it start. Since the beginning of time, man has tried to understand his mind, which I think he has not succeeded even this date, even for us too. So some of the earlier writers spoke the wonder of thought and the foolishness of the wisdom that the mankind is capable of is in equal measure. That is, even if he is very knowledgeable or if he is very foolish, there is a balance between these two. That's what is the main thing is all about, because it involves the thought process which are there. It wasn't until 1800, however, the science of psychology really began to develop, particularly in the field of experimental psychology. So at this time, the scientists adopted the theory of behaviorism, that is how humans behave, as an ancillary, as an adjunctive philosophy, which will add value to the learning process. An idea to the certain behaviors were programmed and would really occur in the biological reaction to the stimuli, because it comes from the genes, it comes from the family situation, it comes from the culture, everything contributes to it. So together, in 1960, this cognitive psychology became very predominant, and in 1970s and more than 60s, it became more application-oriented in almost every factor of life, not only education, but in every single factor of life, where we started thinking about people, understanding them, expression in their own, trying to speak their language, basically in the other languages which they are trying to speak, and getting into their food, that is being more empathetic about learning and the other processes which are being involved. And this science of psychology had helped mankind to come a far way through the process, such that we all have become successful in whichever field that we are contributing. So moving ahead, there are certain people whom we need to really remember when we talk about psychology. So Mr. Willem Windick, he was the one who has founded the psychology laboratory. That is, he is the father of psychology, the founder of modern psychology. And he opened the first lab of psychology, and he wrote his first book on psychology, which applied the laboratory techniques to study the mind, that is, of the human learner. So he is the main person behind the whole evolution of the learning process which is being involved. Moving ahead, we have got another person who has contributed more following Mr. Willman, is Mr. Sigmund Freud conducted the case studies to support the theories and ideas. So the first one was more knowledge-based, telling that people like how this will happen, how this will react, how this is going to be done. The second one had more theories and case studies added to it. This has happened because of this. So it was more kind of explanatory with application-oriented. Following which, we have got other people like Miller, Broadbent, Chomsky, Newell. Can we go on to the next slide? All these people have contributed more to the cognitive revolution. So when the researchers developed the mind-based theories based on computational procedures and complex presentation, there came the derivation of these cognitive sciences, which started, or a major part of it, it started to contributing more to the education factor, because education, the field of education really needed such a kind of thing. So when we talk about cognitive science, what is the main thing that we need to look into is that what people began, what is the main derivation is that when some things don't work for us, what is the alternative thing that we need to look into? If suppose knowledge-based learning is not helping us in the process, what other based learning theories or learning methodologies that we can adopt to change our thinking, the thought process, and so that we will be able to succeed. So on this note, please allow me to share this small video.
This clever crow was trying to lift a heavy brick. Actually, he was hungry and just wanted to eat a walnut, so he tried dropping the brick on the walnut to crack it open. But unfortunately, even after many attempts, he was unsuccessful. Then he came up with a brilliant idea. He flew to the highway, placed the walnut in the middle of the road, and waited patiently. But even after 30 minutes, every car passed without breaking it, so he observed the situation cleverly and moved it to a better position. This time, his plan worked perfectly, and the clever crow happily enjoyed his walnut.
So it's a simple thing. What we are talking about is, if something is not working for us, can we start looking into the ways that will really help us? So from here, if you're going to see this bulb mark, that means these are the thought processes that we want you to make a note of it and come back to us, in the sense. That is, we are giving you a solution for it. Say, for example, in a teaching learning situation, if we have got problems, if as a teacher or as a student, if you've got a problem there, then we are here to give you the solution. So wherever you see the bulb,
this clever crow was trying to lift a heavy brick. Actually,
we are trying to give you the solution. That is, it could be a fallback plan, it could be an option, it could be a mitigation measure, or it could be a contingency plan which will help you to move forward, or it could be a backup plan, or it could be an alternative strategy. Any way you call it, we are here to give you solutions. We are trying to give you solutions as educators for all those problems that we are facing in the classroom situation. Thank you so much. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So coming back to cognitive science, this is exactly concerned to knowing, that is, get to know and to acquire knowledge in different ways. It's that, as we know, our system of education is such that we have one particular question for which one particular answer to be presented in one particular way, and that's what is the knowledge is all about. Then we say that, we applaud them saying that, okay, you have done a great job, you have acquired your knowledge and everything. But cognitive science help us to get to know the knowledge in different ways. In different ways of thinking. That is, it's a science of thinking, perceiving, and understanding. So the word cognition is often used scholarly or in a formal writing about learning and the process of thinking. So it's all in the mindset. It's all in the thought process. Once we change our mindset, once we change our thought process and be open to learning, be very open to learning process and be very open to change ourselves, definitely the change will start happening to us. And we can describe it as what happens when you use the brain power to complete a crossword puzzle or to remember an equation for a text. Exactly. The psychological result of this position results in learning and reasoning. So the cognition makes it possible for a learner to learn a foreign language such that so understanding can be distinguished from social, emotional, and creativity development and ability. So when we say that cognitive skills help us involving in the actual acquiring factual situation, and the knowledge can be easily tested. I can relate it to a very simple example from everyday's kitchen. We all make tea, but not everybody likes the same kind of tea. We have an option whether we are going to drink tea or coffee. So if it is so, even the level of the coffee in it, the level of sugar in it, the level of milk in it differs from person to person, people to people, because it's all in the mindset. So when we take so much care in having one cup of tea to our interest to satisfy all our senses, when it comes to the learning, why not we adopt and change different ways of our thought process such that we are able to provide it? Why do we need to, sometimes when we make the tea, we really test it before giving it to the guest. Why do we test it? Because we want to give the tea to the guest exactly the way that the guest likes it. Likewise, when it comes to the teaching learning process, when a concept is there, why not we give it to the students in the way they like it? They will be able to enjoy the tea that we are offering in the form of a knowledge. Why not we really give that opportunity to the learner to enjoy the learning process such that you are also successful, the learner is also successful, our guest is also happy with the tea. So think about it, and we shall come back to it definitely one more time before the end of the session. So when it is such a case, this cognitive science that has a complete understanding of the mind and the brain can be attained by studying at only one single level, whether it is linguistics or numerals or algebra or algorithm, exactly whatever it is. Okay. Algebra, algorithms, psychology, neuroscience, philosophy, whichever domain of learning it is, whether it's computer science, artificial intelligence, or anthropology, it involves exactly our mind process, thought process, and how we are going to take it further. So when it is so, this cognitive science and the theories, can we move on to the next one, has formal logics. It can deal with any of the learning process which are being involved, whether it is numerals, that we have seen that number smart and all those multiple intelligence relating it to it with the cognitive science theory. That's it. With the formal logic, concepts, analogies, images, connections, means how we connect the learned, the past and the present and the future, theoretical neuroscience, anything that helps in the explanation pattern, and it is broadly defined as a study of human mind, including the processes and the architecture that are being involved in it and in the learning solutions. So moving ahead, with the cognitive science methods, we often today will use them for computational modeling and theorizing to understand the mind and the intelligence, and this will usually involve the experimentation with the human subjects. We normally call them as algorithms. For example, undergraduates will often take part in the laboratory experiments involving the different types of thinking, and they are studied in the uncontrolled situations. So these experiments often involve deductive reasoning, where subjects must form and apply to the ideas of the various problems. So how to identify this? This is what we are going to see in the next slide. This is possible with always with this test, which is called as the speed test, troop test, exactly in the cognitive science. That is matching the color with the word. That is, if you see the green color, green is in green color, yellow is in green color, yellow is in yellow color, red is in red color. That is called as congruent. When it is not matching with the human process, it is called as incongruent. And one of the famous science or examples of this cognitive experiment is known as where the participants are shown this on the stage, and what they identify is when the mind doesn't identify exactly what it sees. The connection between what it's seeing, the visual, is related to the mind process, the thought process. When the connectivity is not there, we will not be able to, those people need some help, and the whole process is not getting successful. So this is what the Stoop test means. So this happens often, or more or less all the time, in our classroom situation. So how to handle this kind of a situation? This is what we are going to see further, relating to the education. Thank you. So, relating it to education and outlining the principles of future teaching, learning, and assessment. So, as we all know, the early literacy and the numeracy are the vital foundations for the broad and balanced learning, with the curriculum coherence and alignment of the curriculum content and the standards, with the teaching practices which are involved in it, with the learning resources which are being involved in it, and the assessment strategies which are being used, remains fundamental to the high quality and high attainment for all the learners. So we cannot compromise for any of the above said things. So the curriculum and its assessment and all other requirements should be manageable load for all the teachers. So the effective learning should be built on the variety of well mixed and managed mix of adaptable approaches and the modes which are involved in it. All this will contribute in the lesson plan and the learning process. And the excellence in teaching and the elevated alignment can be supported by the well-designed, carefully chosen technology that can support the teaching and that attainment. So well-trained and the well-supported teachers are the central to any high-quality pedagogy, high attainment, and the well-being of the learners, also that we cannot compromise. So the evidence of these cognitive sciences practices which are being there is the access to high quality teaching learning materials, which are essential for high quality manageable education at all ages. Dependable assessment, which is vital for social justice, learning support, and also equitable progression for each and every learner, giving them a very clear mapping of the learning process. Clear standards are very important for equity and accessibility of the progression for all learners, and the equity and the high attainment can be achieved with hands-on activities and the resources that are being used. And the first and the second language skills are very essential for all learners, including English as a language for the international communication. So if we relate the whole thing or bring it in a platter, how do we offer? That's what we are going to say. That is why you see the bulb there. How do we offer and how we are getting on there from Learn by Chapter. Moving on to the next slide. Examples of how cognitive sciences evidenced can be used in the education process. Many studies have investigated the potential use of evidence from cognitive science to information learning and teaching and learning technology. Some of the most interesting relate to the usefulness of the retrieval practice in learning of the school science and the use of cognitive science as a means of improving mathematical teaching and learning. As we know, retrieval practice relates to the PPP method, that is practice, practice, practice. Without practice, no process is going to be successful. As we all know, practice makes a man perfect. Third is that how here we take a look at a few examples to see what benefits can arise, but also what can happen with the theory of overshadowing the evidence. So again, if you see the bulb here, we have contributions from Learning by Chapter saying that Learning by Chapter has contributed to all these parameters in a greater way. As we move on to the next slide. Use retrieval practice to enhance science learning. That is, enhancing science learning with the cognitive approach is relating education to life with more kind of nature-related theories and taking it forward in the sense like how people are able to relate education to life with the life experiences. That is example, as I told you, the simple example of making a coffee like that, or even talking about plants and animals, relating it to the science lessons, exactly how it has really helped to a greater deal. That is what is the thing. So the retrieval practice is a promising approach to improve learning with the 3 R's, that is recall, recognition, and relearning. If these 3 R's are very key components of recall, means recalling from the memory, recognition, identifying from what it is known in the past, or what is the past knowledge, the previous knowledge, and relating it to the present knowledge. That is, if it is not successfully applied to the present concept or the present learning concept, relearning the previous concept to the 100% and then applying it with the current knowledge. That is, moving on to the mapping the whole process of success of learning is what is the retrieval practice is all about. And for this learning by chapter helps a very great deal. So this is what we will see when we talk about learn by chapter. So using cognitive science evidence to improve the teaching learning methodologies in maths also. As we have seen, many of the mathematical expressions that has maths, when we talk about it, has 2 cognitive findings. That is, when considering just one thing, or the people tend to focus on the surface features. The second is the pair of things. When people tend to compare and contrast, they tend to know exactly what was done better, what could have been done better. So when that happens, it involves a critical thinking process with the similarities and differences which are being there, and that really helps the process of learning. That means if we take a particular concept of anything, multiplication, algebra, what I know before, what I should learn in this, and what am I going to connecting from past to the present and relating it to the future, how this is going to really help. That is, comparing things can really improve learning, guiding students in the mathematical conventions as noticing as practicing graphical conventions and interpreting in the visualization example with the graphs and improve the comprehension of the visualization. As it is mentioned before, it is connection between what they see to the thought process to the brain. That's what the cognitive science is all about. So revitalizing the material learned earlier and actively retrieving the material from the long-term memory and in the low stakes of environment to improve the durability of the learning. And also not compromising on very important things, scaffolding, adjusting support to reflect the learners. This is done with the feedback. So how did you do? What did you do well? What you didn't do well, and how you could have done well. So these kind of scaffolding questions really makes the whole process of learning very, very successful. So cognitive science helps us with the whole mapping system, and it helps a great deal in the mathematics as well. So also, end of the day, it helps in the learning process. So when we talk about high-level process of applying cognitive sciences to teaching practices, how do we do that? Can we go on to the next one? What is adopting cognitive approaches in our teaching material? That is, cognition can be simply defined as mental processes and abilities by which people engage on a daily basis, such as memory, learning, problem solving, evaluation, reasoning, and decision making. So it helps to generate new knowledge through mental processes and helps us to acquire the new knowledge with more relating education to life, such that educational psychologists were especially interested in studying more about these cognitive processes of individuals to growth and development of the student. So moving ahead, when does it start? If we talk about cognitive development of the child, when does it start? It starts from birth to adulthood. Say, for example, it starts from the sensory motor stage, right from the birth to 2 years. And pre-operational stage, it has 2 to 7 years. Concrete operational stage between 7 to 11 years. And finally, the formal operational stage from adolescent to adulthood. So this is how the stages of cognitive development happens in a human in different age groups. So moving ahead, it is defined as a mental action and the process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and relating it to the senses. On that note, what happens? The cognitive skills. Now, when it comes to the skills, and when this process of thought, experience, and skills happens, the main key thing is the acquisition of the skills happen. That is perception. That is visual perception and auditory perception. When it comes to the attention, focused attention, sustained attention, but divided attention. So when it comes to the memory, we need to move to the next slide, Mr. Risha. Short-term memory, working memory, long-term memory, visual memory, and auditory memory. So when it comes to the logical reasoning, it is deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. So these are the skills the human brain will acquire in this process of cognitive development. So when we acquire these skills, how is it being applied? In the sense, these are the different types of cognitive processes which are being involved. That is, as we have seen, the 3 different types of attention. Attention is the cognitive science process that allows the people to focus on specific stimuli to the environment. That is what is happening in the present situation, how far the child is able to concentrate in the class, how the child is able to apply himself or take the more independent way of learning. That is, the child is able to take the responsibility of their own learning with the proper concentration, and it will be able to move further. And when say the knowledge is acquired, second is the expression part of it. For expression, what the child needs to work on is the language part of it. So the language development will also comes under the cognitive processes. So the child will start learning the language. If he has problem in the expression part of it, as English as a more medium of communication, he will try to at least memorize and getting on there exactly. So this is how the child, the independent learner, is able to acquire a new skill of language in the process of cognitive processes that involve the ability to understand and express a thought process to the spoken and the written words. So this will enable the learner to communicate freely with the importance of this cognitive processes. So when the attention is there, when the knowledge is acquired, when the expression is there, then comes the success of the learning, such that it requires it takes into the synthesis, information, start collecting details and integrating with the previous knowledge and acquiring more clarity with the thought process, with the present concept and moving ahead. Then comes the memory. Now, the task of memory comes into the picture where the child is able to remember all these things, encode, decode with all the sensitive or the information, the past information, the present information, such that the child experience more successful learning process, more independent learning process. Then comes the expression. Now, the learning thought process is there. Expression is there, learning is succeed, memory is related to the past and the present. Final is the child is getting his or her own picture of the concept, such that the perception is the cognitive process that allows the learner to take the information through their own experiences, with their own success, with their emotional quotient. They are able to present the final concept in their own way of expression. So this is the cognitive process which is involved. Learn by chapter takes the child's journey through and through this, their own process of learning with self-experiential learning. Can we move on to the next one, Mr. Risha? Oh, sorry, this one. I'm sorry, you are right. Now coming to the Bloom's taxonomy expanded. Now, in this process, if this is the concept that the child is learning, basically with the different process of cognitive process, now what are the skills that the child acquire in this process? Is the process of reasoning, ability to draw conclusions, ability to make inferences, see relationships, importance which is given to the reading comprehension and understanding, which is all contributing from the learning from the Bloom's taxonomy, with the sensory memory, short-term memory, working memory, long-term memory, visual and auditory memory, sequential memory. All these things will come into the process of memory, with the focused attention, sustained attention, divided attention, with the process of the sensation, relating it to the senses, auditory and visual perception which is being there. We're not compromising on the speed, such that the child is able to acquire the whole set of cognitive skills in this process that really helps us to go in the process of cognition with the retrieval practice. Retrieval practice, as I told you, it relates to the memory, and with the approach of PPP, that is practice makes the man perfect, is a promising approach to improve learning with recall, recognition, and relearning. And yes, so when we do this from learning chapter, how do we help the child? Is that the teacher, being a facilitator, guides the child, but the child takes the whole independent way of learning, such that he himself get a very experiential factor such that he himself go back and check his lessons, how much knowledge I have, how much do I need to acquire more, how much do I need to remember, how will I apply this learned concept in my present situation, if at all, if I need to apply this in the real life situation, with the process of engage, explore, express, experience, express, and evolve, such that they excel in this whole process with the recall, recognition, and relearning with as a self-regulated learner. Moving on to the next one. How cognition help is that these cognitive factors that we have seen with the cognitive processes, cognitive skills, and cognitive science, everything, it helps the learning with the cognitive components of attention, perception, executive function, and reasoning. It also involves the various strategies that one can use in their own learning with the metacognitive factors involving monitoring, evaluation, and cognitive factors. That is, when cognition helps the people to think and attain the levels of learning. Metacognition helps them to think about what is suiting them, and if at all, if anything is not working to their own level, how to change it. What plan B can we adopt? So metacognition comes into the picture such that the child in his own process of learning evolve and change to the next factor, to the next way, saying that if this is not going to help me, if learning of one particular concept by rote learning or acquiring knowledge is not going to help me, let me work on a project method such that I will be able to apply the learned concept and see what is best working for me. Let me learn the way of, like musical intelligence. Let me learn the way of spatial intelligence. Let me learn the way of kinesthetic intelligence. So this is how metacognition helps, and the child will be able to do this in his own adaptive way of learning that is being provided by Learn by Chapter. So in this process of cognitive science, is that growing a metacognition corner. As we know, this is a very beautiful saying which we normally use as educators. This is a very intuitive mind, is a sacred gift, but the rational mind is a faithful servant. That means how well we are able to accommodate the learned concept in the real life situation. Thereby, we are able to contribute to the society. That's what is the whole thing that we are going to see further. So when we talk about metacognition, the next slide. So, sorry, you are right. You are on the right slide. We need to develop an awareness that is the self-regulated, that the student monitors his or own attainment of learning with the assessing their own abilities without the teacher's help. So this is the key thing for any learning to become successful. When the child takes the whole responsibility of his or her learning, we are there only as a facilitators to give them exactly what is required. What is required? If this way is not workable, let us work the other way. If this is not applicable, let's learn it in a different way. That's how the metacognition comes. And when the process of metacognition comes into the child, they become more self-regulated learners, such that self-regulation helps the metacognitive or the most ultimate goals of learning. At Learn by Chapter, we are achieving this in every single process that is being involved in that. So this is what is the thing. Metacognition is not just beyond knowing what one knows and how to think about it, how we think, how we monitor ourselves with the levels of understanding, how to predict how well we will be able to think. That is thinking about thinking, and the knowledge and understanding to know how we'll think. Well, the ability to regulate our thinking process or working on the process is what the whole science of metacognition is all about. So when we talk about metacognition, it's about thinking by thinking. It allows us to complete a given task well through planning. How do we do that? That's what we are seeing. Planning, monitoring, evaluating, and comprehending. So this means the cognitive process allows the normal functioning of the individuals. With the metacognition, takes it to the next higher level, making the person more aware of his own cognitive process and the thinking. So they imagine a child who is completing a mathematical question. The cognitive process would allow the child to complete the task. However, the metacognition would double check the monitoring and evaluate the process and go back and recheck. And this process, the metacognition helps the child to verify and build the confidence of the child. So this is how they become self-regulated learners. So metacognition is awareness of one's own learning. It entails the goals of the learning process. We are going ahead, Mr. Rishabh. figuring out of the best strategies, you should go to the previous slide, for learning, assessing, and whether learning goals are being met with. Metacognitive strategies empower the students to think about their own thinking and their awareness of the learning process, enhancing their control over their own learning, and it enhances the personal capacity of the self-regulation, managing one's own motivation for the learning. So the metacognition simply, in the process of thinking about thinking, it is important that every aspect of school and life, since it involves a self-reflection on one's own current position, future goals, and potential actions and strategies and the results. Moving ahead, when students are metacognitive, they understand themselves as learners and the given task very well, because they have taken the responsibility of their learning, and with the variety of strategies, how to use them, because they know their skills, they know their potentialities, they know their strengths. So which one I will use in this present situation to succeed? This is what will be the self-assessed metacognition. That is, with the comprehension part of, they will be able to analyze with the comprehension, what is the question? How is this problem like one I have already solved? Why is the strategy best to solve this problem? And does the solution make sense to me? So all these questions, the child themselves will analyze and they will arrive at a conclusion. So when it comes to the metacognition, it is the awareness of one's own action and their own effects, posing internal questions with the feedback. Why I'm not able to, where am I suffering? What skill I need to achieve, such that they will be able to equip with the information, with the skills required to find the information, developing their own mental maps and the pictures and the plans, monitoring plans through the process and revising, and self-evaluation. With the process of self-evaluation, they will be able to give you the complete plan. So this actually helps. This is most associated with the teachers. It's not only with the students, but also with the teaching practices. So in a lesson, if the teacher is not able to succeed the deliverance in a particular lesson, the teacher can go back and check exactly with the metacognition, which part of the lesson did not work out well for me, what I need to correct myself to make my lesson more successful, how many of the students were more involved in this part of the lesson, why others were not involving themselves, what is the reason behind, how I can modify my teaching methodology to adapt or to make my teaching learning process successful, or my deliverance as a teacher successful. So these all things, as a teacher, the teacher is able to adopt a new way of teaching practices, such that it becomes a solution not only for the learner, but also for the teacher. So why we teach metacognition skills is that research shows that students can use metacognitive skills to improve their learning. It helps the learners to choose the right cognitive tool for the task and the critical one to be successful in the self-directed learning. It includes knowing when and where to use these strategies of problem learning and problem solving, and how to move further with other plan B or other reserve strategies. As students become more skilled, because they start acquiring more and more skills, such that they, by using these metacognitive strategies, they gain more confidence and they become more independent as learners. So metacognition plays a very critical role in making the successful learning. And it is very, very imperative for all the instructors to help the learners to adapt, to analyze the problem, to approach the problem in a metacognitive way. Because, next slide please, metacomponents processes help the learner to become better thinkers. Next one, the elements of metacognition is more metacognitive knowledge and metacognitive regulation. When it is with the knowledge, it is about the knowledge of person, knowledge of task. Knowledge of person means how much knowing about their own strengths and weaknesses. Knowledge of task means what is the skill, what is the task, what is the skill which is required for the particular task. And if I know exactly what I'm capable of, if I know that I need to acquire some skill, know the knowledge of strategy, how to connect these two, how to get on there. So self, others, and universal. With the metacognition regulation, what happens? So the child start planning how to get on there, how to make the task successful, monitor the whole process with relating his or her own abilities, such that am I there? Am I getting on there? If at all I need to do it, what I need to do. So the process of evaluation is not done from the teacher's side or any other external factor. It is done by the child himself, such that the evaluation process and they take the control of the whole situation and be very successful as a learner. Can we move on to this? So the metacognitive knowledge refers to the individuals to know about themselves as cognitive processors about the different approaches that can be used for the learning and problem solving about the demands of the learning task. So the metacognition regulation refers to the adjustments individuals to make the process help to control the learning, such as planning, information, management strategies, comprehension, monitoring, debugging strategies, and evaluation of progress and growth. Here again, you can see learn by chapter here, because learn by chapter makes it very, very easy for you to take the process to connect this metacognitive knowledge and the regulation process with all the solutions that we have. So when it comes to the metacognitive knowledge and these categories, what I know, what the problem of difficulty I have in this, and how I will equip myself to overcome this difficulty. Get set, go. Keep on the track for moving, and finally they succeed with you made it. Moving on to the next one, please. So the ways to develop metacognitive: know you by all. This is what very important. I mentioned it last in the previous session as well. Know thy learner is very, very important. As teacher, we should know the students by heart, not only by names, by their skills, by their strength and their weaknesses as well. So know it all and monitor their performance according to it. Seek as child, the child should know their abilities, monitor the performance, seek out for feedback. Very importantly, the reports that we get across. Exactly. Keep a diary, maintain a report, keep the report card, what I need to work on. Report card doesn't mean only the marks, the learning targets that are being set there. Keep a diary, ask yourself to get good questions. How do I reach there? So, and react better, give feedback, prepare properly, set your goals, and all these metacognitive skills are given in a platter or learn by chapter, such that it helps the learner to become more empathetic. They become problem finders, they become risk takers, they become more network, working in collaboration, they become more observant, they become more creator, they become more resilient, they become more reflective. So all these are the other factors that learn by chapter is giving through this process of metacognition that we will see when we talk about learn by chapter, definitely. So moving ahead, it's not only for students, remember that it's also for teachers. How will it help the learners in the learning environment and the process? As metacognition, help them to become better thinkers with the skill of teaching themselves rather than the content and understanding with the aim of self-regulated learning. Next one. By infusing metacognition in teaching learning, the whole process will become self-directed learning, such that they will be able to plan, they will know what suits them better. With the cognition and the metacognition, they will change the process, they will adapt to the new process, they will evaluate, they will monitor, they will move there, and they will get on there. So when it is for the learners, it is also for the teachers. How is it going to help the teachers? That we'll see with recommended instructional strategies like explicitly teach the pupil metacognition strategies, including planning, monitoring, evaluating, learning. It is a process with the spans of three different phases to be successful thinkers, and the students must be following. They must do the following: develop a plan before approaching the learning task, such as reading or comprehension, solving a mathematical problem. Monitor the understanding and check the understanding level. If it is not working, use the other strategies to solve the problem, and evaluate the thinking and completing the task. Moving on to this, the internal guide. Emphasis on as teachers and the educators, emphasis on the internal guide of metacognition that extends to the self-support of intervention. That is, ask questions of the mental moves to deal effectively with the present situation. Rereading is very important. That is, going back and recalling the whole thing again and again is very important. That's what we normally do it. Read the question time and again before going on to the solution. Before being aware of one's own action and its impact, and self-evaluation with a completed plan, mapping it with pictures and the plans, with refocusing attention, mulling over that idea, then posing internal questions on what all added information required, researching, monitoring the plans, the process, and revisiting the plans time and again. So That's how it helps. I'm trying to give you little example from each of their thing, that is reading. Teach learners how to ask questions during reading and model think aloud, and ask learners questions to read aloud to teach them to monitor the questions reading by constantly asking them to understand what the text is all about. The teacher takes the notes and teach them how to take the notes when you are teaching, highlighting the important details of why is it like this, why not it. So when it is writing, again, pre-writing strategies, organizing thoughts, brainstorming ideas, using graphic organizers to put the ideas into paragraphs with main ideas of top, bottom line of story writing. It really helps them a great deal. Third is when you talk about social studies and science, they teach the learners the importance of using the KWA charts with Venn diagrams, with concept maps, anticipation, reaction charts, and ideas to sort the information and learn to understand them better, so they understand the concept better. So the learners use organizers to prioritize the tasks for the focus on the task, attention, what they already know, identify what they have to learn. So they are into the task of comparing and contrasting with the present and the past, relating it to the making the process of learning more successful. When it comes to the math, teach learning to use the mnemonics to recall the steps in the process, such as in the order of mathematical operation. So modeling the problem as, for example, there is a lot of information. So how to organize it, how to put them in sequence, all these things helps the learner to learn in a better way. And all these are done in all the resources which are provided by the Learn By chapter. Moving on to the next one, how to effectively implement metacognition is that create a learning environment and the culture with the following in every single lesson. That is, learning task, focusing on the attention part of it, deriving meaning, making adjustment if anything goes wrong. So this is what the whole process of metacognition is all about. The concept to be learned, attention, focusing on the attention part of it, application part of it, and the adjustments when it goes wrong. So when it is so, the whole process of self-regulating learning becomes more successful with these methodologies. So this is already provided in Learn By chapter. So that we will see when we go through Learn By chapter. So moving on to the next slide. Why is metacognition important? It helps in the planning, monitoring, evaluation, resourcing, grouping, note-taking, pretexting, and complex tasks with summarizing, detection or induction, or concept mapping, peer interaction, elaboration, Socratic dialogues or KWL charts and graphic organizers. All these things come in one platter that helps us with a more successful way of learning. So metacognition in summary is thinking about thinking that occurs before, during the task, or during the task, or before the task, and so that you plan, you self-monitor, you evaluate and improve. Adaptation of the same in a class learning environment involves strategies and other approaches. That is, it is nothing but, in other simple words, it is called as reflection, reflecting the learning of thinking and learning in the whole process. And it can occur, either it can occur before or during the instruction time, or where the learner determines what needs to be done and what options or choices which are available, how to go about the learning and how to do the task on hand. And the learner makes a plan successful, suiting to his or own abilities, reaching the learning target. When the learning becomes tough and when the learner is not able to do it, he adopts plan B to self-monitor with the self-regulation, with the thoughts and actions to keep focused on the learner target, that is the goals, with the best possible way to reach it. So during learning, the learner's self-evaluation process takes steps to change the direction if needed. And after learning, the learner determines what worked well, what did not work well, and how things might be done differently to improve the whole process. So moving on to that, when it comes to the teachers, what are the instructional strategies that the teacher can adopt is that characterize the performances, that is the academic performances, and this will really help the teacher a great deal to move ahead in the sense. That is, make students aware they are all responsible for their own learning, state objectives and the learning outcomes, provide practice tests and homework assignments more and more, provide more guided practices before homework, have students participated in complex tasks such as presentations, report writing, etc., etc. That is the best way to get the lessons forward. if you're talking about a particular topic, if you can give this task to the student to make a present point and come, or in a classroom situation, we can have a classroom group which is developed where the children themselves make a research of the concept that is being taught or that is going to be taught. They only can work on their own resources which are being used. They will prepare their own resources and they will come and present it in the classroom situation. And on the other hand, if it is possible, ask the students to take the lessons turn by turn with a concept by concept. So that makes them more involved in the lesson such that it becomes more innovative method as well. So the students prepare the school classroom resources, whether it is videos or PowerPoint presentation, etc., 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 where you have given the concept beforehand, where they do the research work, and they prepare all these materials and come in the classroom situation. Let them take the lessons for the in terms being a teacher in the classroom. You be a facilitator. Let the students take the class and you be just as an observer, such that you can monitor the student process also and provide them the feedback. Distinguish between the deep and the surface way of learning. Where it is deep, and knowledge level means knowledge level, application means application level. Where promoting reciprocal teaching and learning practices which are being involved, provide reading techniques, teaching techniques such that they are able to really take the lesson forward in a more interesting way. And instead of just having the teaching as a deliverance method, you can adopt reading, discussion, labs, storytelling, or even a role play, anything. All these adopt different strategies that you can adopt in your presentation such that it becomes more successful learning process. So when we do that, and these things are already provided in Learn by Chapter. When you become a member, you will definitely know how to make use of these resources. So these instructional strategies which are being there, these address preconceptions, identify the relevant knowledge and skills. When the students are involved in this process, they identify the relevant knowledge and the skills, explicit, defined, characterized metacognition and self-regulatory approaches, teach mastery skills of providing information through study skills, time and effort, set high expectations for student performances such that they are not only learners, but they're also knowledge providers. They go to the next level of teaching, that is knowledge providers as well. So this kind of thing, this really helps the students to gain a great deal, such that with informal assessments should be focused on main students' thinking visible to both teachers and students, encourage reflection and revision, provide timely, useful feedback, plan for instruction that will include the analysis of the whole acquired knowledge and the skills using problem-solving methods. So metacognition on the whole is a self-regulatory learning. So a process by which a person actively searches for relationships and patterns to resolve contradictions and bring coherence in the set of experiences. So this is how it really helps the whole process. So moving ahead, so when we talk about the self-regulated learning, what is the self-regulated learning is all about? It's the learner taking the responsibility of their own learning. They become very proactive in their learning processes, and they become aware of the strengths and limitations, guided by the personally set goals and task-related strategies, such that using anything strategy that they would like to unlock. This enhances the self-satisfaction and the motivation to continue the improving the learning methodologies. So the learners monitor their own learning, but also their behavior regarding their goals and self-reflect in a more increasing and effective manner. So when we do this, exactly, the self-regulatory strategies, comparing the performances, set of performance standards for all these students with the stated objectives, and they will be able to plan it ahead with active listening and adapting to the new knowledge acquired. So when the self-directed learning with the long-lasting success in education, learners who will demonstrate a wide variety of metacognitive skills. It will help them to perform in the examinations, not giving up. They will adopt different strategies to overcome the problem situation, complete work more efficiently, acquiring more skills, and the use of right tool for the job. They will look for the right tool to become successful, modify the learning strategies as required, identifying the blocks to the learning, change their learning tools and strategies to the goal attainment. So as individuals, they will become well-developed, metacognitive, skill-developed person who can think through a problem and approach a learning task, select appropriate strategies, and make wiseful, meaningful, informed decisions about the course and to resolve the problem and become successful in performing the task. Can we play the video, please? Thank you. So now in this video, we can see how metacognition assessment really helps the learner to get
you will have
connected.
no impact on student. And as you change what teachers do in classrooms, you will have no impact on student outcomes. And most of the professional development we've had in this country over the last 30 years has been designed to change teachers' thinking. Basically, we've been trying to get teachers to think their way into a new way of acting. And what we're going to focus on today is getting teachers to act their way into a new way of thinking. The short cycle stuff improves your classroom practice and improves student engagement. Now, what is formative assessment? Well, we've been trying to think about how to communicate this effectively, and it seems to us there are three key processes: where the learners are in their learning, where they're going, how to get there. Nothing very radical there. Think about the role of teachers, peers, and learners. Cross those two dimensions, and you get this chart here. So we think there are 5 really central strategies. One is clarifying and sharing learning intentions. One is engineering effective discussions, tasks, and activities that elicit evidence of learning. Providing feedback that moves learners forward. Activating students as learning resources for one another. And activating students as owners of their own learning. Now, those probably seem slightly familiar or connected to what you know about. The point is that these are much broader notions than people typically talk about. People typically talk about questioning, about feedback, about self-assessment, and peer assessment. For me, self-assessment is important, but it's only part of activating students as owners of their own learning. There are other important things like metacognition, thinking, about managing your emotional response. Learning is hard, and the resilience that the best students acquire in the face of failure is an important part of becoming an effective learner. Activating students as learning resources for one another goes way beyond just peer assessment. It's also peer tutoring and collaboration, supporting each other as learners. Providing feedback that moves learners forward. That's really important. Most feedback, even in the best schools, even when teachers write comments rather than give scores and grades, is actually the view through the rear view mirror rather than the view through the windscreen. It's what was wrong with the last assignment, but they're never going to do that assignment again. The best feedback takes out of the last assignment what the students need to feed into their next assignment. It's very hard to do, but it's the stuff that makes a difference. I flew back from Glasgow a couple of weeks ago, and I'm very glad the pilot did not navigate the way that most teachers assess. Because if he had, what he'd done is said, right, Glasgow, due south, flying time of approximately 55 minutes, and after 55 minutes, he would actually set down at the nearest airport and say, is this Heathrow? And the person on the ground says, no, it's Gatwick. And the pilot says, sorry, you've got to get off because I've got another job to go on to. Because that's what we do, isn't it? We teach kids stuff, and at the end, we test them. And if they've done well, we say great. If they've done badly, we say, don't worry, we'll do it again next term. Yeah, because we do, don't we? Go around and around the same stuff. For most kids, not so much as a spiral curriculum as a circular one. So rather than doing that at the end of learning, why not do what the pilot did? Plan a course, but then take readings as you go and change course as conditions dictate. This is not rocket science, but it's about those small cycles. It's about how often should you do formative assessment? Not more often than once every minute. It's that kind of very short cycle. Am I on target? Do the kids get it? Shall I move on now?
So, thank you. So the connection between the metacognition and the assessment is to make the learners capable with the learning aim, with a set of lessons to get the learners learn the skills of teaching themselves with the content of understanding, that is to self-regulate the learning. So this requires helping students to develop multiple strategies of learning, not to learn in one way, but in multiple ways, to realize why they need to invest in deliberative practices that will and concentration on the learning process. So moving ahead, so what are the strategies that we can give them is that we can adopt reading strategies, writing strategies, processing and recalling strategies, possible goal-setting strategies, community building strategies, mathematical strategies, all these things that can approach. So when we do this, they will overcome the situation of 2 layers of problem solving, selecting appropriate strategy for the problem, applying and monitoring the strategy, and how to approach the given task. They will evaluate the whole process, monitor the process, and adjust it to the success. This is what Learn by Chapter is very proactively doing. So how will the students analyze the whole learning process is that before learning, the student will ask, what is my goal? What is the best way I can reach it? How I've done a task, have I done a task like this before? Will the same approach work this time for me? If not, what is the best plan that will help me reach there? And during the task, so the learner will be analyzing the process of learning. How is my learning going so far in relation to the learning target and the success criteria? Do I need to change my strategy? If I keep going like this, will I be successful? So the monitoring happens. So after learning, the learner asks himself, did I reach the learning target myself? Why? And if not, why not? And what worked well while during the task and what did not work well? Why it did not work well? And so it comes with the feedback. If a similar task is given in the future, will I be able to do the same way or will I be able to do it differently? So learning by chapter during the diagnostic assessment for the teachers, for the students, during the learning process with assessment, completely gives a clear report for a student to approach each and every concept in a mapped way, in a very clear mapped way, so that the student takes the whole responsibility of their own learning and the progress and their attainment. So criteria for evaluation strategies, they prompt metacognition, thinking about the action. So effective, that works in the research and the real life situation, efficient and adaptable, including the methods of their strategies, which we have talked about, the applying, monitoring, evaluating, and finally the strategy using. So this is how the whole mapping will be done. Thank you. Move on to the next one, please. So during the course of thing, the child will be able to ask himself, did I learn anything new? What helped in my learning process? Do I need more help in learning this to be there, as said in KWL chart? What I'm so happy to do about, what do I need to learn next? What am I learning today? So everything is being mapped very clearly in the progress. So how is the feedback given to the learners is that the feedback is given at a very self-regulated level, working on the self-efficacy, self-regulatory proficiencies, and self-beliefs, such that it helps them to move from a fixed mindset to the growth mindset with increased motivation and effort, with the student ownership of learning, making positive attitudes and improved performances. So we all in this application, we create a conducive environment promoting metacognition, where we are all winners finishing the race, such that we create a safe environment for risk-taking, making deliberate mistakes, think aloud with the content areas and situations, modify it, evolve it, and move on with the growth mindset. So how does it help in the interdisciplinary instruction? That's what we are going to see further, whether it is neurology, psychology, anthropology, linguistics, statistics, women's studies or gender studies, history, literature, biology, public health, sociology, psychology. I think these are the different studies that we have, even more as well these days. So how it really helps in the interdisciplinary teaching. So say, for example, food is studied in every discipline and can serve as a theme for the interdisciplinary instruction. Science teacher must teach the teacher about the life systems that exist in a river area. And while the social studies teacher can help the students to research about the local history of the people used for river and transport. That's how it really contributes to the interdisciplinary learning. But the most successful part of it, during a science lesson, if you are going to have your social teacher along with you, teaching along with you, that really makes the lesson more innovative, more successful, such that each child will become more successful of the learning, such that with student-centric, increased cognitive gains, authentic real-life learning, increased critical problem-solving abilities, with highly engaging tasks, and with the learner strength, highlighting the learner strength, opening the doors for the learner to move on or to learn further. So we modify the engaging and relevant methodology with interdisciplinary instruction as engaging for students become more in a structured way, which moves on from student learning beyond or just learning just for the sake of learning. With interdisciplinary instruction, students are assessed on the effectiveness with which they create solutions for real-world problems. When students are allowed to take the lead on the learning by practicing critical thinking skills, extending it beyond the classroom walls, students will naturally become more engaged in their learning. So moving on to with the students' self-centered learning, with the critical thinking abilities, with the problem-solving abilities, our strategies become more successful with the interdisciplinary teaching, such that these strategies which are being involved of contextualizing, conceptualizing, and problem centering, these three major approaches of interdisciplinary with social science, multi-cross-curricular and transdisciplinary aspect with the inclusiveness in the delivery that will help a great deal of having reached there. So moving to relating it to life, when we talk about interdisciplinary, there is one more thing which comes with the factor, that is transdisciplinary. Transdisciplinary teaching goes beyond teaching across disciplines using common themes and topics and issues, thread by thread to different courses. So with a cohesive curriculum and for the students to collaborate and to solve multifaceted problems, this transdisciplinary approach involves innovation, cooperation, and intentionality. So with that, Mr. Rishabh, we have to move 2 slides forward. Sorry. Cognitive sciences, integration into interdisciplinary learning from different walks of life versus education is definitely not a preparation for life, but life itself. So the 8 ways of metacognition help the student become observant, creators, resilient, reflective, they become collaborative, they become risk takers, problem fighters, and empathetic, such that they become students as they become more powerful as determiners and of learning, and we need to put in ourselves in students' shoes before we create better opportunities and for them in our classrooms. As problem fighters, they will be able to imagine things, and they will be able to become more proactive, and such that the education process should be built on the respect by building their own confidences, and students should be able to show the respect that we can muster upon, and we can teach our kids how to go and how to ask questions, good questions in the classroom. And also it will help us to become more reflective, and we become very good risk takers to reach there, such that we become more communicative, we become more resilient, we become more adaptive, such that we all will be able to reach there. So moving on to the next slide, what is next for the cognitive research is that cognitive sciences are born out of the desire to understand who we are, why we think, and how we behave. As finding out more reasons for that with the neural pathways, response to the stimuli, to the conditions that are there, with the technologies of artificial intelligence, cognitive sciences become more and more easier way to understand the meaning of life. So thanks to the advances in the cognitive experimentation techniques and technologies, such that the scientists are getting closer to discovering breakthroughs that could cure the diseases, the future diseases that are coming our way, as Parkinson's disease or computing algorithms, etc., etc., etc. So in that note, exactly what is required is that what is the education is all about. End of the day, it should lead you to life. So the Future of Skills report, as given in the report, that emphasizes the need for the skills of transdisciplinary develops many of the today's global problems that are too complex, that is to be addressed with the solutions. For this, students need to equip themselves with the diverse disciplines and the skills that are required, that are more required for the future workforce, and well-developed transdisciplinary programs which are being determined in the higher education processes that the CBSE is also stressing for, provide students with unique opportunities to develop these skills. So moving on to the next slide, as proactive educators, what is required is that I am an educator and I am an instructor, and I'm very innovative in the education process and to find out exactly what is best suited for my learners. with the empathetic approach that I will create and design the learning experience for my teaching learning environment. I believe that my abilities as a teacher, as an educator, I will adopt all those intelligence and the talents that can be developed that will lead to the creation of the new with better ideas. So as recognizing that these, if I know the obstacles in the education, but I, as an innovator, I will focus on exactly what is possible for me from today and where I can push it forward to lead to the leaders of tomorrow. I will utilize the tools that are available to me today, and I will continue to search for the new and for the better ways to grow, develop, and share my thinking while creating and connecting to the learning process. I will focus on exactly what I can improve on and where I'm ready to become strong, where I'm ready to evolve myself, where I'm able to take it myself to suit the criteria. While I'm there as an educator, my promise is that I will model the learning and the process of leadership, which I seek in others. I will take the risk and try myself to develop new things and explore new opportunities. As an educator, I ask myself to take the risk in the process of learning, and am open for any new novel application which comes on my way, such that I evolve in this whole process for the benefit of the learning, for the benefit of the practice I'm involved in. In isolation, all my energy is focused on exactly how I will evolve, what I will learn today to make myself as the most efficient educator in this whole process. As that, all my voices and experiences, or for the voices and experience of the learners who I'm involved into as an educator, how I will move forward in this direction. So if we are all together on this platform today, let's all take an oath, being an educator, how innovative are we going to be in the process of learning, and what all strategies we are going to change from what we were doing before, such that we will be able to adopt it and take it forward to the future. Because education is the passport to the future for those who start thinking about it today. As I always say, staying together, collaboration is, I will come to that towards the end of the session. And welcome to this one-stop solution of all, which is provided by Learn by Chapter. As we all know, can we go on to the website, please, Mr. Rishabh? What all we have seen in this today's session is available for us in Learn by Chapter. The screen is loading. Thank you so much. So if you see Learn by Chapter, what all we have spoken now, everything is provided on a platter. It's just coming to you in a platter, and it's all under one platform. You don't need to search for anything there. I'll just take you to the tour through Learn by Chapter so that you can go through it and then Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Rishabh, you're able to share the screen, or?
You shared the screen. Are you guys able to see it?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's loading now. Yeah, now we are able to see. So when we go to the courses, we have seen Welcome to Learn by Chapter. As you can see, this is home, this is about us, exactly who we are there, and blogs where we write exactly the topics about exactly knowledge-based community forum and learning sessions. Everything is there. And when you become a member, you are also free to contribute there, definitely. So with the benefits, going on to the benefits, it's for the learners, it's for the teachers, it's for the educators, it's for the schools, it's for everyone, all under one platform. When we come to the courses, as you can see, the number of courses which are here provided by Learn by Chapter, 124 courses. Can you imagine? And every subject, the main subjects are there. And So as you can see, the courses are there for grade 10, 11, as Mr. Rishabh is showing. You can see it very clearly. Class 6, class 7, class 10, class 11, 12, everything. Subject-wise, everything is here all under one roof. You don't need to go anywhere. Everything is there in one platform. And now let me just try to take you through the course now. Exactly. He has opened, grade 10 science. As you can see, what is there? It is chapter-wise podcast is there, where the teacher lessons are there in a podcast form as such. And if we go to the chapter, if you take the first topic of chemical reaction, and you can see the podcast here, which is there in English. And also...
Hey there, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping right into something really fundamental, chemical reactions and equations.
Yeah, we're basically looking at chapter 1 of the...
So this is the podcast. Then as we go about comprehensive chapter-wise, exactly. Chapter-wise notes are there in English and Hindi. So English being the international language and Hindi being the national language of India. We have taken both the languages as such for now. And you can see the chapter-wise notes, which are very clearly here. As you can see the run-through, which is going on. Then concept-wise explanation, video.
Introduction. A chemical reaction is that in which a substance or substance. Introduction. Most of the substances around us undergo changes. Some of these changes can be temporary, with no new substances being. So interactive PowerPoints are also made very clearly in the sense for classroom delivery. So you don't need to really bake your, burn your midnight oil and make PowerPoint presentations. Everything is here on this platform, as you can see, ready to use. Topic-wise, Bloom's taxonomy-based assessment rubrics, very key, which is the real need of NCERT and also CBSE's, the board is emphasizing on this in all their meetings, in every single thing that they're emphasizing on. So it is also readily available for you to access very clearly. And multiple intelligence-based lesson plans. This we have seen last week also, the same thing that is being there. So with it's just integrated with the NCERT learning outcomes and also the materials required. Everything is that lesson structure with the introduction starter activity, with the actual implementation of the lesson exactly, and the activity for the students very clearly for students and to contribute over there, their feedback. Even the feedback session, it is aligned with the NEP 2020, with the extension of home assignments and the project-based things, which is being there. This for you to access. And what all we have spoke exactly means activities with the metacognition skills with the students have to develop. Everything is given in a more ready-made capsule. You just have to take the capsule, drink the water. It's just your solution is already there. Your medicine is already there. So it's like DIY STEM activity that you can see with the materials, everything. You can just plan these activities and take it to the class, and you can take it forward to your schools for your schools to use. And also we have the login for not only for the teachers, but also for the learners to get the best out of it, the best use of it. With the NCERT textbook solutions are being there. Exactly. Solved answers are being there. PPP, practice makes the man perfect. Practice question papers are there. So the child can go back and work on it time and again. Main thing is at their own convenience. That's what is very important. Whenever they feel like doing it, it's not necessary that they should go only to the tuition class and approach it. They should be there in the classroom to approach it. Not like that. Anytime the child wants to study, the child is given the free liberty of learning it. And how many times he wants to study, he can go back and work on it. How many times he wants to work on the same question, he can work on the same question time and again, until he gets the answer right, And he wants to adopt, if at all that he has got the answer right in one way, he wants to adopt it in a different way of learning. Yes, it is being there. Last but not the least, the previous year question papers are also there with the solved answers for them to just go back and check. They can have a timer, they can set their own timer, that's why we say that it is self-regulated, independent way of learning, where the learners get the best advantage of learning process, the best. learning advantage process. And they are not learning in one single way, definitely not. Be it linguistic, be it mathematical, be it spatial, be it kinesthetic, be it musical, be it with the interpersonal relationship, balancing with the emotional quotient, everything, all which is required, all under one roof, which is being provided as a solution from Learn by Chapter. And last but not the least, relating it to today's topic of diagnostic assessment, which is the very key thing. Exactly why is it required? Because we call it as a learning buddy. And definitely, hats off, we are all indebted to Dr. Vishal, who is the person behind creating the whole platform. And he has made things, education in a very simple way. And anybody can access it, anybody can use it at their own time, at their own time zone, at their own level of learning. Need not be when I do multiplication, the basic concept, what I should know is addition. If my concepts are not very clear with addition, I will not be able to succeed in multiplication. So you go back and check exactly your addition concept. The child can do it himself at his own speed, so that he will not be embarrassed by giving a test in a classroom situation, or an answer in a classroom situation where he doesn't know the answer, or he is not clear with the concept. So the child is given the liberty of learning to come out of their own fears, to come out of their own doubts, to come out of their own apprehensions, to come out of their own restrictions, what they have, to their own level. It is not only for the child, even for the teacher, who may not be very successful in delivering a class lesson. She can go back, she can adapt, she can evolve, she can be very successful in deliverance, because she's not preparing questions, she's not preparing the resources are already there. She will be working on the deliverance, what skills I need to achieve. So if you see that the topic for the specific feedback, the topic with the specific feedback is very given with which areas where the child is very clear, and the areas that require the specific attention, and the weak point, the weaknesses or the shortcomings the child need to work on. So identifying the misconceptions. Why did the mistake happen? Where did you go wrong? Root cause of the misunderstandings. Exactly, whether it is a language problem. If it is a language problem, we have a solution for the language problem. If it is the concept problem, okay, breaking down the weak areas and the performances which are being involved with more investment of time, effort, and money. Exactly, PPP is very important in this case. They need to practice again and again. So, as remedial measures, which is being identified with the most customized, tailor-made suggestions are given. Interventions are given as remedials, such that the child is given the liberty of learning. He will enjoy the whole process of learning rather than facing embarrassment of not knowing something. So, with the detailed solutions being explained in a detailed way, in a more spoon-fed way. But it is not spoon-feeding in the sense not exactly helping them with the learning process. The learning happens with a more self-regulated way, but the explanation is given to the way the child needs. Exactly. Sometimes what happens, the teacher is all the time teaching English in the classroom, but the child is not comfortable with the language. Here, we are providing it in Hindi, such that the child is able to learn in his own language. Detailed explanation is given, and step-by-step guidance is given very clearly, such that they understand exactly what I went wrong, how did I do this, because I didn't know the previous concept. Okay, let me learn the previous concept and come, now I'm able to do it. So everything is given to you in a very, very, very clear platter, and it's very easy to use. Only thing is you need to take the membership, which you can do, and you can always suggest it for your schools where you're working, such that we are always available at your convenience. Exactly, you write to us, you can message us, or you can take the membership, use it for a trial. Thank you so much, Sri Harikrishan Sahib Public School. We will definitely approach you. Definitely, we will take it forward. So this makes the learning not only an easy method, most enjoyable, most exciting, most adventurous method, such that the child is learning at his own pace, at his own speed, with all his interest that he has acquired, with his interest of learning, types of learning, different levels of learning, and also with the consistent feedback which is being given, such that taking them hand in hand, hold in hold, such that you don't worry about it. We are there to support you. So this is what Learn by Chapter is all about. And now I'm open for questions, definitely. And if you've got questions, please put your hands up, and we are there to help you out. So with that, we have come to the end of this session, definitely. I would be taking some of your feedbacks, definitely. If anybody would like to speak, please show me thumbs up so that we will give you a chance to speak. Or otherwise, please put your hands up, thumbs like this. If you've got to speak something, if you've got a question to be raised, definitely. And please enroll yourself for Learn by Chapter with Learn by Chapter to make your own life more joyful, more meaningful. As teachers, we need not be working and burning our midnight oil in preparing resources all the time, working on students, giving them diagnostic assessments and guiding them for next pathways, learning pathways, etc., etc., etc. We also have a life, we also have a family, we also need to evolve as a teacher. How long can we be teaching, say, grade 7 science, same science, time and again? Why, how and when we will evolve ourselves in our own process of moving on to the next direction or moving on to the next phase. Think about it. So please, we welcome you to enroll yourself for Learn by Chapter, and we are there to support you. Only you need to write to us. You need to really enroll yourself with our Learn by Chapter with taking the affiliate program, and rest all we will take care of you. Definitely we'll be able to take care of you, and we are there always to support you. And once again, thank you so much for this wonderful attendance. Many of you have been asking about the attendance certificate. The attendance link will be shared over there in the chat box. You can always register there, and your attendance certificate will be sent to your definitely. We will try that, and attendance certificate will be given to you definitely by the end of the session. Sharing the PowerPoint, we will think about it. We will definitely take a decision, and we will do accordingly. Yes, certificate will be sent to you once the meeting is ended. So there we are. Anybody has got to say anything, please. There are no more, no one has raised your hand. We are looking forward to, because this is a platform. This is a platform which we are creating for you to come and speak. If you don't speak in this platform, you tell me exactly when are you going to speak? How you're going to speak? If you got to speak, you don't need to open your video. Just open the mute, unmute yourself and start speaking. Say, Mom, I need to speak. I just need to see your hands up, and then I will give you a chance to speak. Mr. Rishabh is there always to support us. Please. Anybody? Thank you, Dr. Vidya. Yes, thank you. Dr. Nitya Mahendran is from Velangani Group of Institutions.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Actually, I felt you kept that the radius of this special program, the radius you can call it as the reaching point of the child. That's an excellent radius point you kept. So without the radius, you can't draw a circle. Similarly, without the child's point of view, the reaching, what is the distance of the transmissions of what is the subject the teacher is going to do in the class definitely should reach the child. So we make it very easier. Really good session. But I just want to know that the connection between the metacognitions and the assessment, the capable learners you meant, right? That you're going to, that is the basic, the concept of the things what you brought into the session. And the step by step that what you're just going to insert all this, the story of the stuff inside the chapter, learning by chapters, the syllabus wise.
Based on diagnostic assessment process of Learn by Chapter.
Okay, I understood. And then you told the child is unable to understand English properly, then it will be translated in Hindi also. Only in Hindi or in Tamil, Telugu, in all other regional languages also?
We are working in making it multilingual. Very soon it will be multilingual, definitely.
But presently it is available only the national language, Hindi.
Yes, Indian language. International language and the national language.
Okay.
We have got the accommodation for the international language and the national language.
That's good.
Very soon we will make it regional. Our aim is to make it regional, definitely. With all your kind support, we should be able to make it. See, how many people are opting for other languages? If you say, since you mentioned about regional language of Tamil, how many people want it in Tamil? That's what we should know. How many people are going to enroll themselves with that background? So definitely we'll start working on those lines. Definitely. Thank you. Valuable insight.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job done by Sukumar, Srividhya Sukumar and your team. Really good. And again, we are waiting for the next episode also.
Yes.
Good.
So Sunday, definitely. So this is our website, learnbychapter.com. Yeah.
Fine.
So anybody else would like to say there? Are we going to conclude the session? Thank you. So as I always say, coming together is a beginning. Staying together is a process. Working together is success. You have spent, you as a person, you have spent 1.5 hours of your life on this platform. It is your duty to make it more beneficial and meaningful for you. So the reason how to take you there is that to enroll yourself with Learn by Chapter, such that whatever you spent in time, you're not going to get it back. Many of you, I could see that you joined us in this session and you were there in the previous session. How to move forward. Join with Learning by Chapter, such that really it will be 100% fruitful. There are no regrets after that, definitely. And today I'm saying this, you can say that I am endorsing it exactly. After that, definitely no regrets as a learner or as an educator, as a teacher. This is one-stop solution for all those requirements, all those challenges that we are facing in our classroom situation. And the end of the day, as education is a passport to the future for those who think about it today. Let's start thinking about it today. So this thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Let it become your habit. When it becomes a habit, sow a habit, it becomes your character. So when it becomes your character, you reap your destiny. That becomes your destiny, such that you are able to design your own destiny as an educator, and you'll be able to really take it forward. So thank you so much. Thanks once again. Sharing the PowerPoint, coming to the questions which are there in the chat box. Sharing the PowerPoint, I'll try and do what best I can do. Maybe as pictures, we'll be able to share definitely. Maybe not as a PowerPoint, I don't know. We'll think about it, but definitely, I'm not saying no to you, but definitely maybe as pictures, we'll be able to share. And coming to this, and next week, I'm telling you the question for next week. How many of you have actually enrolled for Learn by Chapter? This will be my first question to every one of you. Have you enrolled for Learn by Chapter? This is what I want to know. I have. Mr. Shailendra, thank you so much. Thank you. So as soon as you log in next week, I want you to just put the message in the message box saying that I have enrolled myself. I'm enrolled. I'm enrolled. I'm enrolled. So definitely I want to say, because I really don't want to have my time over here just for 1.5 hours with you. I want to have a very long association with you, such that we will be able to take you forward hand in hand, such that we all will sail together in this process of education, this journey of education. So thank you so much. Thank you once again until we meet again for next Sunday or the next weekend. Thank you, Dr. Mahindra. And we are so happy that we are going to be enrolled with Velangani School. So we want participants like that. One who has come for one session, immediately ma'am has taken it forward to her school. So it should be like that. And that gives us a motivation. And definitely, it's for your benefit, definitely. And thank you. Thank you once again. Thanks for your precious time. Until we meet again next week, it's bye from all of us. And our sincere thanks to Mr. Rishabh. Mr. Rishabh, please. Mr. Rishabh, would you like to say something?
Thank you everyone for joining today.